It's impossible to meet your love in a cab. I thought so too until this happened, but let's start over. I almost didn't take the call. It was a Saturday afternoon, one of those hot, windless summer days where the sun beats down like it's trying to break you. I was parked near the east edge of downtown, sweating through my shirt in the front seat of my cab, debating whether to call it a day. The AC had given up on me 2 weeks ago, and I still hadn't scraped together enough to get it fixed. Then the ping came through, an address near the train station. The name on the pickup was just R. Garcia. I stared at it, thumb hovering over the screen. Something about it felt like a hassle. Maybe it was the heat. Maybe I was just tired. But I sighed, muttered, "One more ride," and hit accept. I pulled up outside the terminal 10 minutes later, scanning the sidewalk through the windshield. That's when I saw him. He stood under the narrow shadow of the awning, a single duffel bag at his feet, scrolling through his phone. His hair was messy in a deliberate kind of way. His jeans rolled at the ankles, and a gray t-shirt clung to him in all the right places. He looked young, mid-20s maybe, Latino, with warm skin and dark eyes that looked up just as I pulled in. He opened the door and leaned in. "You, Marco?" he asked, voice low but confident. "Yeah," I said. "You Garcia?" "Rafa," he corrected, sliding into the back seat. "Train was late. Sorry if I kept you waiting." "All good." I pulled away from the curb, punching the address he gave me, some apartment complex about 20 minutes west, into my phone's GPS. The silence settled almost immediately, just the hum of the engine and the occasional ping from his phone. I caught a glance of him in the rear view. He was staring out the window like he wasn't seeing anything. "You just got into town?" I asked, more to break the quiet than anything else. He nodded. "Yeah, visiting. Kinda a last-minute trip." "Vacation or trouble?" I asked before I could stop myself. He cracked a faint smile. "Little of both, maybe." I liked his voice. It had this calm, measured tone to it, like he didn't say much unless he meant it. Most passengers talked too much, or not at all. Rafa felt like someone who thought before speaking. "I'm from here," he said after a moment. "Grew up just north of downtown, moved out about a year ago. So this is a homecoming?" He chuckled, but it didn't sound happy. "Something like that. My mom's birthday is tomorrow. I haven't been back since the move. She thinks I'm just here for her." "You're not?" He hesitated, then leaned forward a little, just enough for his voice to drop closer to my ear. "You ever leave a place because it felt like it couldn't hold you anymore?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. I kept my eyes on the road, the words echoing inside me longer than they should have. "Yeah," I said finally. "I have." The rest of the ride went quiet again. But it wasn't awkward. It felt like we understood something about each other. Like maybe we both knew what it was to run from a version of yourself you weren't ready to face. When I pulled into the gravel lot outside his building, Rafa didn't move at first. He looked at me through the gap between the seats. "Thanks," he said, reaching for his bag. "I needed that." Needed what? The quiet, the questions. Both. I shrugged, feeling a little off balance. Most rides end with a mumbled goodbye or a slammed door. This felt different. He paused, one hand on the door handle. "You drive every day?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Pretty much." He looked like he was about to say something else, but then just nodded. "Maybe I'll see you again," he said, then stepped out into the heat, the door closing gently behind him. I watched him walk up the steps, his bag slung over one shoulder, head down like he wasn't sure if he was ready to be here. And I just sat there for a moment longer, wondering why that ride hit me harder than any I'd had in a long time. I didn't know it then, but that wasn't the last time I'd see Rafa. Not even close. Rafa didn't call again for 2 days. In that time, I kept telling myself to forget about him. He was just another passenger. A quiet one with good cheekbones and something soft in his voice. Sure, but still, just a guy the first drove from point A to point B. But I kept thinking about him anyway. The way he'd said, "Maybe I'll see you again." The way he'd looked at me, not flirtatiously, not obviously, but like he saw something in me most people missed. That kind of gaze sticks with you. It was a Tuesday when his name popped up on my app again. Late afternoon, light traffic. I was already halfway through my shift, parked behind a taco truck on Roosevelt, picking at a burrito that was falling apart in my lap. The ping buzzed my phone. Same name, R. Garcia. I swiped the screen before I even thought about it. When I pulled up, he was already outside, this time in a white button-up and black slacks, like he'd just come from something formal. He waved, then slid into the back seat again like no time had passed. "Hey," he said. "Didn't expect you." I smiled into the rear view. "You requested me." He raised a brow. "I didn't know you'd actually get it." "City's small," I said. "Weirder things have happened." He nodded, then leaned back in the seat. "You good for a longer ride?" "Depends how long." "North side, up past the bridge." "That's nearly 40 minutes. "I'll tip well," I shrugged. "I'm not complaining." We pulled off, merging onto the main road. This time, he talked more. Told me he'd just come from lunch with his sister, that their mom's birthday dinner was that night, and he wasn't sure he could sit through it. "She means well," he said, looking out the window, "but she always asks the same stuff. Why I'm still single. Why I haven't moved back. Why I don't talk about the guy the first used to live with." "You were with someone?" He nodded slowly. 4 years, lived together, thought it was it." "What happened?" Rafa hesitated. "He asked me to be someone I wasn't." Slowly, subtly. I didn't realize it until I was already halfway gone. I didn't know what to say to that. I've had bad breakups. Hell, I've had messy hookups that lasted too long. But nothing like that. Still, I knew the feeling of leaving parts of yourself behind just to make it through something. "You ever been in love?" he asked. That caught me off guard. I adjusted my grip on the wheel. "Once. Maybe. Didn't last long enough to know for sure." He leaned forward slightly. "What happened?" "He wanted to move to LA. Said there were more people like us there. More places to be open. I couldn't afford to go, and he couldn't afford to stay." "Shit," Rafa said, sitting back. "That's real." "Yeah." We drove the rest of the way in silence again, but this time it felt different. Like we weren't avoiding anything, just letting the weight of it all sit between us. When we pulled up in front of his sister's place, a modest, cream-colored 2-story with peeling paint and kids' bikes in the yard. He didn't get out right away. Instead, he said, "I don't usually do this." "Do what?" He looked at me, not through the mirror this time, but full on, chin tilted, eyes steady. "Ask cab drivers this," he said, then laughed at himself. "But, do you want to get a drink sometime?" I blinked. I didn't answer right away, because part of me thought I'd misheard him. People flirted, sure. Drunk passengers made jokes, and once a tourist left their number on a receipt. But this wasn't that. This felt honest. "Yeah," I said. "I'd like that." He smiled, really smiled, and it felt like the first time I'd seen it. He reached into his back pocket, pulled out his phone. "Give me your number." I rattled it off, and he typed it in, saving it without another word. Then he opened the door, paused, and added, "This isn't just a hook-up while I'm in town thing." I didn't think it was. "Good," he said, nodding once. "I'll text you." And then he was gone again. I sat there a while longer, engine humming, heat rising off the hood. I wasn't supposed to fall for someone in the back seat of my cab. But maybe I already had. I didn't hear from Rafa the rest of that night. Or the next day. I told myself not to care, that it was probably just a casual moment for him. Maybe he got swept up in the weird closeness that sometimes happens when two strangers share too much too fast. But the truth was, I waited for his message. And then, the night after his mom's birthday, right as I was finishing a ride and heading back toward the garage to turn in the car, my phone buzzed. 11:03 p.m. Still up? 3 minutes later, another. Sorry, that sounded dumb. Just, if you're not working, want to meet up? I didn't even think. I called him. He picked up on the second ring. You're still out? He asked. Finishing up, I said. Where are you? He paused. My friend bailed, was supposed to grab a late drink. I'm just kind of walking around. You want me to pick you up? You don't mind? I drive for a living, I said, grinning. Get in, Rafa. He sent me his location. A little park just outside the downtown loop. I found him sitting on a bench, hoodie pulled up, arms folded. He climbed in the front this time. Thought you were done for the night, he said. I was. Made an exception. He didn't respond right away. Then he looked over and said, thanks for that. We ended up at this weird 24-hour diner neither of us had been to before. Formica tables, fluorescent lights, the kind of place that smelled like grease and cinnamon. We ordered coffee and shared a plate of fries. He told me more about LA, about the guy who left him feeling like he had to shrink himself to fit. He didn't say the guy's name. I didn't ask. I told him about my dad, who thought driving a cab was a waste of potential, and my brother, who hadn't called in almost a year. Somewhere between the second refill and the last fry, Rafa said, it's weird, but I feel safer with you than I have with people I've known for years. And I didn't know what to do with that. Because same, I paid the check. He tried to split it, but I waved him off and drove him back toward the apartment complex. We didn't talk much in the car, but the silence felt like something solid, something comfortable. When I pulled up, he didn't get out immediately. He turned toward me, one hand still on the door handle. Do you want to come up? It wasn't said with any kind of pressure. No agenda, just an offer. I should have said no. I should have left it alone. But I was tired of shoulds, tired of convincing myself that feelings like this were too complicated, or too risky, or that people like him didn't look twice at people like me. So I turned off the ignition. His place was a small one-bedroom with bare walls and half-unpacked boxes. He laughed as he shut the door behind us. I swear I live like I'm on the run. I stepped inside. It smelled like detergent and lemon cleaner. The couch was threadbare but clean. The light in the kitchen buzzed faintly. You want a drink? He asked. I shook my head. Just water, maybe. He nodded and moved to the kitchen. I sat on the edge of the couch, hands on my knees. This wasn't a hookup, and we both knew it, but it also wasn't just friendship anymore. When he came back with 2 glasses, he sat next to me, legs brushing. We didn't speak. The quiet stretched long and full between us. Finally, he set his glass down and looked over. I meant it, he said. Back in the cab, about wanting this to be something real. I looked at him, studied the shape of his mouth, the small crease near his eye that only showed when he was nervous. Same, I said. He smiled, then leaned in. Slow, careful, giving me time to stop him. I didn't, and when our lips met, it wasn't like fireworks. It wasn't wild or frantic. It was quiet. Sure. Like we'd both been waiting to exhale, and finally could. When we pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine. His hand found mine on the cushion between us. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like just a cab driver. I felt seen. We didn't sleep together that night. I mean, we both slept, eventually. But there was no rush to undress each other. No clumsy scrambling for buttons or zippers. Just quiet, shared air. We kissed for a while. Talked more. Then laid side by side on his too soft couch, half under a thin blanket, our legs tangled. He fell asleep first. I stayed awake a little longer, watching the city lights blink through the blinds. I don't think I'd let myself be that still in months. No engine running, no traffic noise, no ping from the app. Just the sound of Rafa's breathing and the occasional creak of pipes in the building. Around 3 a.m., he stirred. His hand found mine under the blanket. You awake? He mumbled. Yeah. He rolled onto his side, forehead touching my shoulder. You want to stay? I nodded. When I woke up, the light was different. Softer. Morning. Rafa was already in the kitchen, hair a mess, pouring coffee into 2 chipped mugs. He looked up and smiled like I was someone he'd known longer than just a couple of conversations and a handful of shared silences. You take cream? Black's fine. He handed me a mug and leaned against the counter. I haven't done that in a long time. What? Let a guy crash on your couch? No. He tilted his head, watching me. Trusted someone I just met. That hit me harder than I expected, because same. Still visiting? I asked, taking a sip. He paused. That's the thing. I might not go back. To LA? Yeah. I don't think I miss it the way I thought I did. I've got friends there, sure. But... He trailed off, then looked at me directly. You ever feel like a place isn't your place anymore? Every time I drive downtown, I said, half joking. Whole city feels like it belongs to someone else, like I'm just passing through. He gave a small laugh, then his smile faded into something more thoughtful. I don't know what I'm doing, Marco. I didn't plan any of this. Any of what? He gestured vaguely between us. This. You. Staying. Waking up and not wanting to leave. Neither of us spoke for a second. The kitchen buzzed faintly with the sound of the fridge motor and the street noise bleeding in from outside. I don't have a map either, I said eventually. I just know I like seeing you in my cab. And I liked waking up here. His expression softened. I don't want to mess this up, he said. You're not. You don't even know me, he added quietly. I know you walked out of a bad date. I know you left a guy who tried to change you. I know you're the kind of person who sits quiet in a cab but listens hard. I know you make really strong coffee. That made him laugh. He stepped closer, leaned into me, his hip against mine. You make it sound like I'm worth something. You are. He reached up, brushed my jaw with his thumb. You're not what I expected either. Let me guess, I said. You pictured someone taller, better hair, less back sweat? He snorted. No, I just didn't think the first guy I'd connect with in months would be the one driving me home. I didn't have an answer to that, just reached for his hand again. We spent the rest of the morning like that, talking, laughing, eating cold cereal on his couch. It felt weirdly domestic for something so new, but not in a bad way. Around noon, I finally stood up. I should go, I said reluctantly. Gotta return the car, get cleaned up. He walked me to the door. Hey, he said, stopping me with a hand on my chest. I meant what I said. I want this to be real. It is. He kissed me again, slower this time, certain. Call me tonight? You don't even have to ask. I stepped out into the sunlight, blinking. Everything felt louder, sharper, like the city was new again. Like maybe this place, this job, this life wasn't just something I was passing through after all. And as I walked to my car, I realized something else. I couldn't wait to see where this would go. The next week blurred by. Rafa didn't fly back to LA at all. He extended his visit by just not booking a return flight. I didn't press him. He stayed with his mom a few more nights, checked in with his sister, helped his niece build some cardboard castle for a school project, but he also kept showing up in my life in ways that felt more and more intentional. He'd text me after I finished my shift. Sometimes I'd pick him up late, take the long way to his place with the windows down, just talking. Other times we'd meet at a diner halfway between our neighborhoods, splitting greasy fries and trying to pretend we didn't notice how close our legs kept bumping under the table. Once, I caught him just sitting in my cab outside a coffee shop. He'd used the app to request a ride, but when I pulled up, he just smiled and held out a second iced coffee. Wanted to see you, he said. Didn't know how else to ask. So yeah, we were definitely becoming something. The problem was, neither of us had said what. That came to a head one Friday night. We were parked along the waterfront, one of those hidden little lots that look out over the river and always smell like damp wood and old boats. I had a blanket in the trunk from when I used to do early morning drives, and we laid it out on the hood, coffees in hand, the city skyline glittering across the water. "Okay," Rafa said, tipping his head toward me. "I have a question." "Shoot." He looked serious, not in a scary way, but like he'd been rehearsing it in his head all day. "What are we doing?" I blinked, caught off guard. "You mean right now?" "I mean us." That word hung there, charged and simple and terrifying. I looked down at my coffee cup. "I don't know, spending time together, talking, kissing, when no one's looking." "Exactly," he said. "But what does that mean to you?" I looked at him. Really looked at him. The way his jaw tensed slightly when he was nervous. How he tried to play it cool but couldn't hide the way his foot bounced a little when he was anxious. "It means I like you," I said. "More than I probably should. It means I check my phone every time it buzzes, hoping it's you. It means I plan my break route so I end up near your side of town." His shoulders relaxed, but his eyes stayed locked on mine. "Then why haven't we talked about it?" "Because I didn't want to scare you off." "You're not," he said softly. "You're not scaring me." I hesitated. "Are you planning to stay?" He didn't answer right away, just stared out at the lights over the water, thinking. "I don't know," he said finally. "I came here to escape, but it feels like I'm building something instead. And that scares me." "Why?" "Because what if I mess it up?" he said, voice low. "What if I try to stay and it ruins whatever this is?" "Then you stay anyway," I said. "And we figure it out." He looked over, eyes darker now, but soft. "You're not just saying that?" "I don't say things I don't mean." He reached out, his hand brushing mine on the hood of the cab. He laced his fingers through mine. "I haven't felt like this in a long time," he said. "And I don't want to be just some guy in your cab." "You're not." "Okay," he whispered. We sat there like that, fingers intertwined, saying nothing more. The night stretched on around us, the world quiet in that way. It only gets when everyone else has gone home and the city has stopped pretending to be something louder than it is. That was the night I realized something big, something terrifying and good. Rafa wasn't just someone passing through. He might have started as a passenger, but somehow, somewhere along the way, he'd become the destination. The first time Rafa spent the night at my place, it was supposed to be practical. He'd been helping his mom with something all day. Repainting the fence, or fixing a clogged kitchen sink, I forget, and was too tired to catch a rideshare back across the city. "Just crash at mine," I told him. "You've already got a toothbrush here." He smirked. "You noticed?" "Hard not to, next to my razor." He brought a duffel bag with him that night. The kind you pack when you're not sure how long you'll be staying. That was 3 nights ago. He hadn't left yet. We didn't talk about it, didn't define anything, but his stuff slowly appeared on my dresser. One of his t-shirts folded over the back of a chair. His charger plugged in next to mine. He made coffee in the morning like he'd always lived here. One night, after a long shift, I came home to find him asleep on my couch with the news playing softly and a half-eaten burrito on the coffee table. He'd waited up, didn't make it. I stood there watching him for a second. His face looked peaceful in a way I hadn't seen before, like he'd finally stopped holding his breath. It scared the hell out of me. Not because I didn't want it, but because I did. The next morning we were eating scrambled eggs out of the same pan, both still in boxers, feet brushing under the table, when he said, "My lease is up at the end of the month." I froze, fork halfway to my mouth. "I was gonna renew," he went on, "but now I'm not so sure." "Yeah?" He looked up, eyes unreadable. "Would it be crazy if I didn't?" I set my fork down. "Not to me." He didn't say anything right away, just leaned back, arms folded, thinking. "I've never done this before," he said. "Move for someone. Let it get real like this." I reached across the table, hand on his wrist. "Me neither." He exhaled slowly. "You really want this? Like all of it?" I gave him the smallest smile. You already live in my damn head, Rafa. Might as well move in officially. That made him laugh. Deep and unfiltered. He leaned across the table and kissed me, right there with egg breath and all. The next week, he started staying over full time. The week after that, he canceled his return flight to LA. By the third week, I'd cleared out a drawer for him. I didn't stop driving my cab. He didn't stop making fun of my cassette tape collection. We didn't become some perfect domestic couple. We had our rough mornings, our late-night takeout arguments over who finished the last spring roll. But we worked. He'd come with me sometimes on late-night shifts, sit in the passenger seat while I drove around town. We'd talk between pickups, listen to old R&B stations, and share lukewarm coffee from gas stations. The city looked different with him beside me. Less like a blur, more like a place that held meaning. One night, I dropped off a couple outside a downtown bar, then turned to him at a red light. "Ever think about how we met?" I asked. "All the time," he said. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if someone else took the call that day." I shook my head. "They wouldn't have remembered you like I did." He smiled. Yeah. He reached over, his hand finding mine between the seats. "Guess I was meant to get in your cab." "Guess so." The light turned green, and I pulled forward, our fingers still laced, his shoulder brushing mine. It had started with a ride. Now he was the one person I never wanted to drop off. It's been 8 months since Rafa got into my cab. Funny how one ordinary day can turn into a before and after in your life. I still remember the heat, the way he looked soaked and kind of defeated, and the quiet, drive slow that started it all. Now he's brushing his teeth in the bathroom we share, yelling something about how I always leave the towel damp on the floor. I yell back that he hogs the comforter every night, and he just laughs. That kind of laugh that bubbles up from the belly and makes you feel like maybe the world isn't so heavy after all. It's not perfect. We fight. About stupid things mostly. Grocery lists, dish duty, what to watch on Netflix. But we always come back, always meet in the middle. He started working part-time at a community arts nonprofit, helps with their event planning, uses his calm voice and steady hands to make things happen behind the scenes. He says it's the first job where he doesn't feel like he has to pretend. Sometimes I pick him up after work, even though he could just take the bus. He throws his bag in the back like he's a passenger again, slides into the front seat, and we fall into the rhythm that started it all. "You still charge your boyfriend full fare?" he teases. "Only if he doesn't tip." He reaches over, hand resting on my thigh. "Then I better make it up to you later." And I grin like an idiot, because no matter how many rides I've done, this one never gets old. The other day, he found an old receipt from the day we met, still in the glove box, tucked behind a faded parking ticket. "You kept this?" he asked. I shrugged. Guess I knew even back then. Knew what? That you weren't just passing through. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at the crumpled paper in his hand, then at me. "You know," he said, "some people meet at bars. Some meet through friends. We met because I didn't want to go home after a shitty date. And now you never have to go home alone again," I added. He slipped the receipt into his wallet. "Just in case I ever forget how it started," he said. But I don't think either of us ever will. It started with a simple ride. A ping. A guy looking for silence, and a driver who didn't expect to find anything meaningful that day. And somehow, through city streets and takeout nights, half-empty gas tanks and early morning coffees, it turned into a love that never needed a map. Because from the first time he climbed into my cab, Rafa wasn't a detour, he was the destination.